Welcome to Booking It. Today's episode will be Sherlock Holmes and the Study in Scarlet. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, your eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and joining me today on this fine Frisco afternoon is my good friend, Mr. Bryson Bostwick.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, this is a very nice afternoon, actually.
It is.
Started out quite cold, but...
Yeah. Monday it was 90 degrees, and this morning it was 40.
Yeah.
Like the day, so it was, it was 90 degrees Monday, and I think Tuesday I come downstairs and make my smoothie in the morning, and I'm like, why am I so cold?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, because it's 40 degrees outside.
I know, I'm
no
getting
reason.
notifications that it could be snowing.
Yeah, right, seriously. Yeah, Thursday morning, I'm like, what?
I know, I'd come to think that it was already spring, like leading into summer, but here we are, it's still winter.
So anyway, but today is a really nice afternoon for podcasting, I would say.
Yes.
So Bryson's got the better view than I do right now. So
yeah, I've got the tiny view out the tiny window with a hill, and that's literally it. It's a hill and a building.
All right, nice. Well, it's better than my view. I'm looking at Bryson, so no.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Cooper is also on the other side of the table. I can see Cooper too.
Yeah. Well, today we're just us, the Bryson and Cooper show, or the Cooper and Bryson show, if you prefer. Talking about Sherlock Holmes. Tanner is absent. Isaiah is nowhere to be found.
Nope.
Just us.
Yeah. This
Sherlock and Watson.
Exciting.
And here we are. So, Bryson, the reason we're doing Sherlock Holmes is because I thought it'd be fun, but also because you're a big fan. You've read all the stories.
Yes.
What's your history with Sherlock Holmes? Like, why
Oh, okay. So it started, I think, when I was either 13 or 14, somewhere in there. And I remember having conversations with my mother on just, okay, is this really something you should be allowed to read? And
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, for what reason?
So, I mean, some of them are very dark.
Yeah.
Some of the stories are quite dark. And
wait, your mom wasn't concerned with like the stereotyping of Mormons or anything like
no,
that?
No, she was not at all
up in
concerned
arms
about that. No. But then one fine Sunday morning after church, I start talking about things that I want to read, and my pastor says, "How about you read Sherlock Holmes?"
And then your mom's like, "Oh, well, the pastor says it then."
And we were sold. And so immediately I think I borrowed his copy, which is actually the copy that's right in front of me. And I started reading, and I didn't stop. I think I also downloaded it on Kindle. And so
how old were you? How old are you at this time?
Either 12 or 13, I can't remember.
Okay.
I know I was doing baseball at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like 5 or 6 years ago.
So are you like do you love them? Like, how important is it to you? What do you think about the quality of it?
Okay, so when people ask me what my favorite books are, this is going to be one of probably the top 5, at least. I'm not sure if I would say top 3, but definitely top 5. And just, oh my goodness, it is the wit of Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah.
Just the brilliance of all the stories, just keeping me in the dark, but kind of just a little bit, kind of understanding what's going on.
Right.
And then at the very end, everything being wrapped up together. It's the perfect mystery story without all of the extra nonsense stuff that's in most spy and mystery movies and books today.
You mean like romantic interests or things like that, or something like that?
Something romantic. And I mean, they're like I read Sign of 4 before this, just recently, and that does have a romantic interest with Dr. Watson.
Oh,
yeah, you didn't remember that?
No, I don't know. I haven't read many Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yeah, but so. I can't believe I motored through this. Like, it's a shame for me to say, but I probably went through this faster than I have the Bible. Like, I would, and it sounds kind of dark because I would go to bed and then pick up Sherlock Holmes and read like 2 or 3 stories before going to bed.
That's crazy.
And that was like what put me to sleep.
Aww.
But it was.
Now I get what your mom was worried about. No, okay.
I always loved the good triumphing over evil.
Yeah.
And right always prevailing, and the light always overcoming the dark. Just because even such a lost and broken person as Sherlock Holmes being used to do that, because throughout the stories you definitely see Sherlock Holmes is no perfect man,
right?
And I mean, especially since we're watching this all through the lens of Dr. Watson, we see a whole lot more of his shortcomings than anyone else does. And I don't know. I'm glad that we're starting off with this first one. So it kind of it gives you the introduction to Sherlock Holmes. It's like, okay, here's who he is. Here's how we met. And it's all told in first person,
right?
At least somewhat first person. It kind of goes back and forth from Dr. Watson's point of view. But yeah, just I'd say that has to be the main thing. Is I love the suspense and thrill of mystery, but also the light overcoming dark.
Gotcha. So were you ever able to figure out any mysteries before the fact, or did you not want to?
Yeah. So when I first started, I was just so excited to get into every mystery, and I don't think I ever really tried to.
Just like I'm reading Sherlock Holmes, and that's enough for me today. Yeah.
I felt so very British and not proper.
In your leather armchair with your cigar.
Yeah.
Well, Bryson doesn't smoke. I didn't say that.
Not very prim and proper, but just like the rugged.
Yeah. I mean, Victoria.
History and stories of.
It's a very gritty Victorian England.
Yeah, very gritty, for sure. Yeah. But no, so then getting into all this, it definitely sparked some extra interest in me wanting to go and then read more English and British authors. And
okay, really?
Yeah. So now I haven't gone and read all of the Tolkien stuff, so I can't say it
the premier.
I know. It hasn't gotten me into everything, but it will eventually.
So I'm curious to know, because I'll put my cards on the table in a minute, but wondering if Sherlock Holmes changed over the course of the stories. So it's one of the very first stories we read. We read A Study in Scarlet for this, one of the very first ones. How does he change over the course of all of his mysteries? Does he change in terms of how stately he is, how annoying he gets? I don't know. What's your take on that?
I think one of the main changes that happens in him is he sees the debaseness of man.
Okay.
Just as you get to
becomes a Calvinist.
The last few,
No. Okay.
as you get to the last few, he starts. I mean, he's already kind of given up on the world at the very beginning. That's as a detective, you see all of some of the worst things going on in society. You see all of the mud, the blood. You see all the dirty politics, everything going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And so I loved the authenticity of it too. I mean, I haven't read any of Arthur Conan Doyle's other stuff, so I don't know.
I haven't heard very good things about it, but I'm not sure. I haven't never tried myself.
I haven't. So I can't, when I say I like Sherlock Holmes, I'm saying I like Sherlock Holmes. I can't say I love Arthur Conan Doyle.
Right.
Because
sure, that's a good point. Yeah.
I haven't gone and read any of his other stuff, and I haven't heard anyone else that said any of his other stuff is good. Almost anyone that has read Sherlock Holmes doesn't immediately go and read some of his other stuff. They go and read Sherlock Holmes parodies and other.
That's interesting.
Yeah, other things written by different people about Sherlock Holmes, like a new story or something, or a spinoff. But yeah, like you said, I think his view of people definitely diminishes, and he starts being willing to do whatever it takes to solve the mystery.
Gotcha.
Not as in killing other people and getting other people out of the way, but just sacrificing himself.
Okay. So he becomes
more
willing to self-sacrifice.
But it's not like a selfless self-sacrifice. It's like the cougar trying to catch the
I understand.
the goat in the mountains, just
so
stalking, being the predator. And
okay.
being willing to give up anything.
So it's not so much a virtue.
Win.
Not so much So self-sacrifice would be the wrong word for it.
Yeah.
But because that would imply kind of
a selflessness.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
He still believes that he is very much a quite a smart man.
He thinks very highly of himself. Yes.
Yeah. But he also just knows what all he's seen and what all he's been through. And kind of something that I already talked to you about was him trying to forget non-important things, trying to and you said you wanted to talk about this. Just he had the idea that his mind was an attic that could only store so much information, and that it couldn't hold all of the minute things of life. It couldn't hold what he ate for breakfast yesterday, or it couldn't hold like just small things.
Yeah.
And so he very purposefully picks bits and pieces of information to keep up there, so that he's always
he curates his the museum of his mind.
Yeah, exactly. And he thinks that there's a very limited space up there and tries not to waste it, whereas you think that is not the case.
So, as you were saying, something else popped in my mind. So yes, I do disagree fundamentally that I think that you can expand your mind. I think your mind is a muscle, and I think that it can be pushed and grown and expanded. Yeah. I think there's wide evidence for that. Just with the ridiculous things people are able to do. Yeah. If you set your mind to it, you know. So maybe he's lazy, I don't know. But another thing was, I think that our mind often automatically filters out things. So I remember one time, a couple years ago, my mom wanted me to construct a food diary. So this was when I was doing...
Food diary?
So I had bad arthritis. Yeah. My knees are very inflamed, kind of coming out of the summer. Okay. And so she was like, I want you to keep track of all the food you ate. That way we can see, okay, looks like that is inflaming your knees. Let's cut that out. So we just got back from vacation, and on vacation I had not kept it up. And so I was trying to go back and fill it in, and I couldn't fill it in. Like I was thinking literally like 3 or 4 days before, and I couldn't think of what I had for lunch. Yeah. You know, and I pride myself on having a pretty decent memory. And I'm like, I should be able to remember something like that. But I'd forgotten it. Yeah. You know, I could not recall it. And so I think that sometimes our mind filters it out. Like, it's okay if you didn't remember what you had for breakfast yesterday or a couple days ago. It's fine. Now, I do think that the way my mind works is I try to set things up to where I like hide it in my mind with something else. And that something else I will come across and see and be reminded of.
Yeah. So usually, like I'll do that when I have a certain thought. I'll pair that with something I'm seeing at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I'll go back to that thing. I'll look at that thing, and then that pops that memory back in my head.
Right. That's how I do it too. Sometimes I overcompensate and make something more obscure, or I won't see it again, and I forget it. But it works most of the time. Just finding something to trigger it. You know. So yeah, I disagree with that, but I think it is interesting, and I think it really is. We can talk about the philosophy of it all day, but I think really it's supposed to be. This is who Sherlock Holmes is. Yeah. You know, he's the kind of guy who's going to make sure his mind is
he is a
as
very,
the premier.
Very black and white.
He can identify all the boot brands in London and what their imprints are like in mud. He knows the cigar smoke by a whiff. He can tell the type of sand that is used, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's more of a character thing than a philosophy.
Exactly. And that's what we have to realize is, like, this guy is insane. There's almost been no man like him.
He's a special man.
He is very. This is a special man.
So, my history is much different. I have just always known about Sherlock Holmes. Like, who hasn't? You know, he's been. I mean, I think, is he the character who's been adapted the most? Is that something that's true? I forget.
Maybe.
He's been adapted a lot anyway.
Yeah, there are a ton of authors that have rewritten Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and even movies and TV shows and plays and so much stuff. So I think I've been familiar with stories like the Red-Headed League for forever. I think
only because of CC.
Only because I've read it before CC.
Okay.
I've read
just
some stories before.
Just because it was in CC?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I knew of Sherlock Holmes well before, and I feel like I'd read one or two things. I feel like also he was included in that kind of like, I read many books from the library that were children's version of things, but they were like this one series, you know, and they had so many authors that were like not quite classics, but like 1800s and 1900s authors. And so, like, you know, Jules Verne was in there, and Sherlock Holmes was in there.
Sherlock Holmes is not going to be classic.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, like, he wasn't in, like, the, you weren't reading, you know, Austen, or you weren't reading that far away, kind of. You weren't reading the Russians.
I'm wondering if this will last.
I bet it will, and I want to ask you about that, because Sherlock Holmes is the character who has lasted for a long time. Like, why is he so compelling? Why do people keep coming back to him? Like, what is it about him? He is, I mean, not very sympathetic. Like, in terms of we are not like him. He's very much other.
Yes.
Is it Watson? Is that why we like Sherlock? Like, what's going on? What is it with Sherlock that keeps working?
Yeah.
That was not a rhetorical question. That was a direct question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's something that's always kind of boggled me is, like, he just has these extreme powers. He has this, and like either Gregson or Lestrade says something in A Study in Scarlet just about, wow, if this man was not on the right side of the law, we would be in some big trouble because he has everything way too put together. And like, even though his life is falling apart, like we see that with just how mentally disturbed he is, he still is brilliant when it comes to picking apart crimes and figuring out how the law has been usurped and what happened at this murder scene, something like that. But yeah, like for someone that is so broken and is so just far from us, like why do we like him? And I think it's just because of we all wish we had these powers of deduction and inference. And we see things every day, and him just explaining how he gets to simple conclusions. We're always like, oh man, if I really paid that much attention to my world, maybe I could do that too.
Right. It seems so possible. Yeah, that we could do it.
Yeah, but I think he does embody kind of that desire for all of us to understand our world better, and not quite be able to do it though. Not understand what's going on around us, even though we really wish we could, or we think we do. We think sometimes we really think we do understand what's going on, or what the mood is in the room, or how everyone around us is responding to us. But yeah, we'll never, until the other side of the grave, we'll never be like Sherlock Holmes in that way.
Right.
Having those skills of
deduction.
Yeah, exactly. And just the excitement of the stories, I think. But other than that, like I've read these stories multiple times with the thought of, man, Sherlock Holmes is not someone I think I'd want to hang around with for very long.
Right. Right.
When he's not solving a case. But when he is solving a case, man he is
so
sure
fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I as you were thinking, I was running through all the instances of at the times that we have a story where the character is very much different than us, and we can't really sympathize in major ways. But the stories still work. So like even in superheroes, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like
for sure.
I think that really, truly though, the best superheroes are the most relatable. Like Spider-Man's the favorite because we go to high school. We're homeschooled, but whatever. But we go to high school.
Teenage boy that's misunderstood.
We want that girl. That guy gets the girl that we hate. You know.
Yeah.
We want to buy a car. Everybody could get bid to buy a radioactive spider. You know, on a museum trip. It could happen. But at the same time, I think of like stories like this where you have a character who's very much other and is operating on a different level. But at the same time, it's possible for us to kind of envy him because we understand that maybe if we applied ourselves, we could be like Sherlock.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I really think that Watson provides such a helpful piece of
light
this.
to see him by.
Of Watson is the human that we see.
Yeah.
And we realize, Watson's just a good guy. And I like him a lot.
Yeah.
And, man, he's also a foil to Sherlock as well, of like mentally sane.
Yeah.
So I think Watson helps us out quite a bit in understanding who Sherlock is. And
yeah, exactly.
Both like what we see in Sherlock, like how fun he is, I think we like to kind of look at that. And
you're probably right. Definitely if there was no Watson, for sure, we probably wouldn't like it nearly as much. But even if there was someone else that lived with Sherlock Holmes that wasn't like Watson and wasn't like, wouldn't call him out when he was in the wrong, like whenever he's doing drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
And when he's smoking in the house and just saying, you should probably not be doing that. Or just like actually serving as somewhat of a friend.
Right.
Actually calling him out, actually caring enough about him to tell him when he's in the wrong and when he's not.
Somebody really cares about Sherlock. Yeah.
But I don't think you're right. I don't think I would like the stories nearly as much if Watson wasn't the light by which I saw the whole story, or the narrator, the one telling the whole story.
I cannot imagine Sherlock narrating these. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He talks about it at least once in the story about, I've written my own memoirs. You should go read them sometime.
Really?
Yeah, he does.
On that.
And Watson's like, I just read them and I hated them every last bit of it.
It's honestly hilarious. I love that
because it's so bland and like factual. It's just fact.
And Watson's like,
that's how he thinks.
Let me tell you about this cool thing that happened. Yeah, storytelling.
Yeah. And yeah, you're exactly right. And I've heard Andy Wilson talk about this multiple times. Just the characters that we like the most are the ones that are the most relatable, and that we aren't always exactly like, but we see how we can become like them.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I haven't read Ashton Barrows yet, but what's the main character in that? Cyrus.
Gosh. Cyrus and Antigone.
Yeah, and like everyone wants to be like Cyrus. You keep saying, but maybe not everyone's like him, but they realize they can be like him if they work hard, persevere.
So do you think Sherlock is a person to strive to be like then?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. He's someone that we can all respect, and we can all definitely applaud in certain circumstances. But I don't.
Is he a good man? Is he a virtuous man?
I don't think so. Can I say he's virtuous? I don't think I really can.
Okay, so I'll put my cards on the table. This is the first time I've read a story since I've seen the BBC show Sherlock.
Oh, no.
Have you seen any of it?
No, I haven't seen any video adaptation.
So I was very shocked to come back to this and realized actually the show character is much more like the book than I'd realized. I had pictured Sherlock more of being a stately,
Yeah.
a stately armchair detective who walks around in his pipe and shuffles around.
He's still pretty young in the book.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying that.
Young and spry.
Yeah,
and
right.
Very good at
very active. Yeah,
deceiving and disguising himself. Yeah.
But I don't remember him to be as
swanky.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like as cold, as calculating. Yeah, as
that's definitely the word.
Yeah. As it was, and maybe because it's early on. That's kind of why I asked my question.
Person.
Yeah, because in the show, he's not a person you would want to hang around at all. Like you just feel awful.
Yeah.
It makes you love Watson all the more, and the people around him all the more, because they are lovable and they love Sherlock and care for him.
Yeah.
And so it's like
how could I even be like Watson?
Right? How can I? Yeah, exactly. How could I love this guy? But it's fun to see that happen. Where was I going with that? I don't know where I was going. What were we talking about before I mentioned the show? Virtuous, yes. Yeah. I think they say in the show, Sherlock Holmes is a great man. I think Lestrade said this. So they combine Lestrade and Gregson. He becomes Greg Lestrade. So funny. But
what?
But I think he says, Sherlock Holmes is a great man, but so much more could happen if he was a good man too.
That's good.
That's good. And I'm wondering, and I was really surprised to come to the book and find that to be kind of the truth.
Would so much more happen if he was a good man?
Well, yeah.
He wouldn't be as cold, as calculating. He wouldn't be the sort of detective that he is.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it takes a very hard person to be that detective.
Have you seen A Few Good Men?
I don't think so.
Okay, what's the end of the line? You handle the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so the character who delivers that line is the character who's ultimately guilty in the trial, right? Mm-hmm. And so, well, spoilers, but it happens anyway. Pretty very close to when he says he's guilty. So
yeah.
But what he admits to is that he tries to tell Tom Cruise look, sure you're trying to charge me for this, but guess what? You need somebody on the wall. Like you need me. You don't want to admit it, but you need somebody doing the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And I wondered about that. Like, is that true? Like, do we, society, need to turn a blind eye to people who do dirty work? Or do we need
people
to hold
behind the scenes that are willing to?
Yeah, or like, hey, look, we get it. Like, you had to make a utilitarian choice, and nobody wants to make that utilitarian choice. Like, kills one person, save 20.
Yeah.
But is there somebody who needs to do that? I don't know. And is that person guilty of the same crime? Or I don't know. You know.
Man, that is a tough question.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think it's more of a contemplative question. I'm not sure what's meant to be fully answered.
We kind of talked about that today, just with like hating the sin and not the sinner, and in what circumstances are we told in Scripture to get rid of the sin and the sinner at the same time?
Yeah. Sometimes
and just like what C.S. Lewis was talking about with the animal self and the diabolical self, and whenever that diabolical self has truly shown itself, then it needs to be disposed of.
Right, needs to be taken care of, yeah.
And in our place and time, right here, right now, what instrument have we been given to do that? Because God has not called us to go being vigilantes.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Murdering the evil people
on our own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we say it, vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
I will repay.
And that's why that is one of the reasons why we have government, or local government at least. And I mean, yeah, so that is something that I'm going to think about, and I want all the listeners to think about too.
Mm-hmm.
Just, is that something?
Yeah, and is that compromised by can a good man make that choice? Or must it always be the kind of vigilante person?
Yeah, does it always have to be a morally gray person that's going to make that choice to
that's interesting to
save multiple people and get rid of?
Would Sherlock be a worse detective if he was a better man?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, because I haven't seen
this gets into like competing values. Like there is value in being the person who does dirty work, but also is that outweighed by pursuing virtue and everything?
Yeah.
And evaluating things the best you can and committing to your conscience to do the best you can in any circumstance.
And for me, it would be very, very hard to make that decision, and unless it was someone I love very much hanging in the balance, I think I would probably not be able to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I struggle with that too, because I am very much the person who can be more pragmatic or utilitarian or more calculating, less passionate when it comes to these matters.
Yeah.
So it's something I have to like I recognize as a weakness within me and counteract or balance for it.
Yeah, something we all need to be praying about.
Yeah, exactly. Like where is my fault where I have to counteract it kind of with my judgment.
Yeah.
Like ethos, pathos, logos. Like I am very much ethos and logos, and I have to adjust for that. Both when I'm hearing an argument and making an argument.
I'm missing one of them for sure.
Are you?
At least, probably two.
Well, I mean, we all have deficiencies in them, and have to look out for them. And I think self-awareness is key to that, especially. So, well, that was a fascinating discussion.
I had no idea where it got there.
Love it. I love it every time it happens.
I know.
Let's talk about A Study in Scarlet then, the story we read.
Yes.
So, set the stage for us, Bryson. What's going on? We meet Sherlock. They go to 221 Baker.
It tells the story of how Sherlock and Watson get together. And Watson has just gotten back from the war. Which war is this? The
Afghanistan?
Yeah, war in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Part of the Queen's Navy. Queen's Army, actually. Yeah, and he is complaining about rent being too expensive, so one of his friends introduced him to Sherlock and was like, man, you two would be really great together. Except Sherlock, he's a bit strange.
He's a special character, yeah.
He's kind of weird. And so then we go off on this adventure of Sherlock tracking down this man. And it all starts with, wait, I'm forgetting how it starts.
I think they're just like living together, and Sherlock keeps seeing all these people and makes Watson go away. And Watson's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I think at one point somebody like comes in, or was it... I think like one of the detectives tells Sherlock, like, we need you, but like there's something. Here, let me see if I can find it.
I'm pretty sure that at the beginning, they what is it? Yeah. It's Gregson. Gregson comes up to him and says, "We have this case that I need help with." Either Gregson or Lestrade. And they tell the whole story of how they found the body and the night watchman that found the body, and then the drunken man, and the name written in blood on the wall, and
because he
then like before he even leaves, Sherlock is like, "Oh, I got an opinion. I know what happened."
Yeah, because the messenger comes and he's the Marine, and Sherlock deduces he's a Marine without knowing, and then retired Marine.
Yeah,
and then tells Watson about it, and that's the letter about what you just said.
Yeah,
there you go.
And so then they go off on this venture, trying to catch this guy that ends up murdering another person. And then once they catch him, and like Sherlock keeps saying the whole time that he knows who it is. And both Gregson and Lestrade have different people. They both think it's someone else. So there's three suspects.
Right.
And Sherlock, of course, in the end ends up getting him. And then we're only halfway through the story.
Right. Can I interject here?
Yeah.
So I'm reading this, right, and I think I broke it up over 4 nights or so.
Okay.
I read it, and so I finish, one night's reading, I'm like, that's great. The next night we get through, we just talked about Sherlock has grab this guy. I think this is him, and I'll answer all your questions now. I'm like, great, yes, we're gonna get some answers. Pretty cool. And then the next page begins part 2, and it just opens like this. In the central portion of the great North American continent, there lies an arid and repulsive desert, which for many a long year served as a barrier against the advance of civilization. From the Sierra Nevada to Nebraska, and from the Yellowstone River in the north to the Colorado upon the south, is a region of desolation and violence. Nowhere is nature always in one mood throughout this grim district. It comprises snow-capped and lofty mountains and dark and gloomy valleys. There are swift-flowing rivers which dash through jagged canyons, and there are enormous plains which in winter are white with snow, and in summer are gray with the saline alkali dust. They all preserve, however, the common characteristics of barrenness, inhospitality, and misery. I'm like, what the heck? Why is this Cormac McCarthy novel just like starting in the middle of Sherlock Holmes? And then I'm like, because I had heard about this infamous stereotyping of Mormons in Arthur Conan Doyle, and I was like, this must be it. Right? So the first episode of the show adapts this story, but they cut out this entirely.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. The cab driver is just a cab driver. Like, he's just been a cab driver forever and turns into a serial killer. So
wow.
So, but here we have a complicated story. And man, so you can describe the plot now if you want, and I'll jump in later.
The plot, the cab driver, is the murderer actually.
Right, the Sherlock grabs,
Yeah, and the way that Sherlock gets him in his apartment is just he just says, "Oh, I need a cab driver by this name," and sends off a boy to go get him, and he thinks nothing of it and comes in, and Sherlock just slaps some handcuffs on him and is like, "Got him."
Too easy.
And
like, you want to describe the Mormon backstory? Like, why did we jump for like 30 pages?
So then we just jump into this, and like this is a hugely stark contrast because we've just been in dull, dreary London,
right?
And then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we're in like Utah, what? And in the desert with this man, and at first we think it's his daughter, but he's adopted her as his daughter because they were the only two left out of a party of 21 settlers that came to the West in hope of finding a place to live.
Right.
And they're basically starving to death out in the desert. Well, they're stumbled upon by this band of Mormons. And all of their like remarks about the promised land and
onward to Zion.
Yeah.
I've been to Zion. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. I think I have too. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And just the stereotyping of the Mormons is quite nice.
It's quite nice.
It's hilarious for most of it. But who knew they could be so dark?
Yeah, who knew?
So basically, they end up being taken in by the Mormons. They find the promised land. They live there for like 20 years.
Yeah, 20-something years, yeah.
And they all grow up. John Ferrier. Yeah. John Ferrier becomes one of the wealthiest men in this
Salt Lake.
Yeah, in this city that comes to be known as Salt Lake City. And the only promise that he had to make to the High Four, which were the leaders of the Mormon organization, was that he would become a Mormon and that he would obey their rules and laws
and precepts.
Yep. And the only thing that he didn't do was marry. And you know those Mormons, they like to marry. And but he refuses to marry. He's just decided that he's going to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. And I think he was married before. We're not like given decisive information on that.
Yeah, it seems like there might have been something in his past that, coupled with the Mormon community, turned him off from wanting to marry.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is his adopted daughter, now just his daughter, Lucy, grows up and becomes a very bright and beautiful daughter of the land. And he wants to keep her to himself, just let her be his daughter forever.
Right.
But he realizes that's not going to happen. She's a young lady. She's going to get married to someone eventually. And all these Mormons, well, I mean, she's young and pretty, so they're going to want to marry her off to one of their men that already has like 10 wives. And but this young cattle rustler comes into town one day and basically falls in love with her. And The Mormons don't like that for some reason.
Because he's a Gentile.
It was so weird hearing him called a Gentile. But that's what he was.
You're all Gentile.
And I guess that's what we are in both ways, in multiple ways.
Oh, yeah.
And so he basically, I think for like 3 years, I'm pretty sure it's for at least a year.
It's for a while.
He keeps calling on her, just becomes better friends with her and John Ferrier, and
then John realizes, hey, if I want to get this girl married to a non-Mormon, this is my best shot.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy, and as much as I want to keep her, I gotta let her go.
Yeah, and basically he decides that, and then says, "Okay, you," and this guy's name is Jefferson Hope.
Yeah.
The cattle rustler Jefferson Hope, and he has to go off to earn some more money to
work in the mines. Yeah.
Then be able to take care of Lucy.
And come back and grab her.
And he will come back and take her. Yes. And while he's away, I think it is one of the four.
It's Brigham Young
himself,
the namesake of BYU.
Oh yeah, yeah it is. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to John Ferrier's house and says, "How dare you? We have heard reports of your young daughter wanting to marry someone else that is a Gentile." And he's like, "So what?" And so they basically start a countdown till when they're going to murder.
It's such a pretty creepy countdown.
I know.
What's going on?
Till when they're going to murder John and his daughter Lucy.
Oh, well, no. They would take Lucy
murder
and
him,
marry her off.
Take her and all his possessions.
Right.
And marry her to somebody. Yeah. So, yeah, they're drawing numbers for the countdown on his property in his house, like every day. And the countdown, yes, is very creepy and suspenseful. And I think, by day, at the very beginning of the countdown, he's like, "Oh, this is not very good." So he sends out a letter. I have no idea how he gets it out.
I don't think they're watching us closely at this point.
Yeah,
maybe
sends out a letter to Jefferson Hope saying, "You need to come right now because we're in a noose right now.
Yeah.
We can't get ourselves out." And with 2 days left.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days.
With 2 days left, Jefferson Hope finally comes back, sneaking in as cattle rustlers do. It even talks about him, since he was so well accustomed to the land and night and the darkness, he snuck very stealthily up to the house and was not discovered. And basically, he ends up sneaking him out.
Yeah.
Eventually, sneaks him out. Well,
going through dangerous passes.
Yeah,
in the
going
Utah
through
mountains.
canyons and mountains and trying to escape to Carson City, Nevada. Right. And they run out of provisions and supplies, and he has to go off hunting, and finds a nice mountain ram, and shoots him, takes him down, and when he comes back, Lucy is gone, and there's a grave for John Ferrier, and he's distraught. His life is over basically.
Yeah.
He has no purpose except to
exact vengeance,
get Lucy back if he can. He does come back to Salt Lake.
Right.
Tries to hunt them down. It's just too dangerous being there though. But he does figure out that Lucy died. Very shortly after being married off to which one? It was
the guy with
the one with 7
wives.
Yeah, the one with 7 wives.
Is that a Stranger's? No, that was not. It was. Oh gosh. I don't know.
Yeah, there's. What is his name? I can't remember. But anyway, so basically, he just devotes his life to murdering these 2 men, that exacting revenge on them. The 2 that wanted to marry her, from the beginning.
Drebber.
Enoch J. Drebber.
Yes.
And is it Joseph Sanderson? No. What? Is that it?
I don't know.
And yeah, so he ends up following them all across America, and he is very, very smart and cunning. Actually, we come to find out, Mr. Jefferson Hope is, and he keeps petitioning.
Joseph Stangerson.
Yeah, he keeps petitioning to judges and courts that they are murderers, killed his
John and Lucy.
Yeah, kill John and Lucy, and never proves it to anyone. But they.
By the way, mind you, this is all in the middle of a Sherlock Holmes story.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like in. I'm like, man, yeah, go get him, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm upset. I am mad at these guys. I want you to go get him. Like, hang on, where's
we
Sherlock?
forget this is still Sherlock Holmes.
It's like this is backstory.
But
this is so you can understand his confession, which is still to follow.
Yeah, and he ends up tracking them down all the way to Europe and waits for an opportunity when they're both alone to then kill him.
Yep, it happens.
And by the way, he's gonna have a heart aneurysm and his heart's gonna burst.
So he knows this is.
So he's got to do it quick,
right?
Because he's got to get revenge
but also he doesn't need to be concerned about what happens afterwards.
Yeah, but
it's like
he also it's kind of interesting how he makes the pills.
Right.
And
he trusts in Providence.
Yeah, Providence is going to decide who is the better man.
Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Yeah.
All you do is force him to take a shot, and the Lord take care of it.
And
it's like you've seen those people like Two-Face or the guy from No Country for Old Men, flip a coin, but they're nihilists. Like chance and fate will do it. Mm-hmm. But hey, Providence, man, it's the godly way to go about it. Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you. They're pretty obvious.
Even at the end, you're like. By the end, well, at the very beginning, you're like, yeah, let's catch this guy. He's a murderer. We're going to get him.
And you understand
at the end, you understand his motivation.
And you're much more sympathetic to him.
And yeah, you're almost sad for him that he's about to die.
Right.
But go ahead.
So anyways, that's how it ends with the confession and Sherlock and things. So I know that many modern Mormons, LDS people, they're very upset by these stereotypes that are presented in the Sherlock Holmes story. Mm-hmm. So obviously we are not Mormons. We have big problems with their theology, like big problems, and in practice as well. Questionable history, questionable practices. Mm-hmm. But like at this point, I'm not sure Arthur Conan Doyle realized that they might be taken like more seriously than they were back then. You know what I mean? Like they were back when he was writing, they were a kind of basically a cult. And arguably still are. But he was very obviously making fun of something that everybody else would
have made fun of too.
Is that okay? Like, is it okay? I mean, obviously, I don't think I've met many Mormons, and they're friendly, they're nice, and they're not, these people who are gonna go right to countdown because he didn't add another wife to their harem, kind of thing. I don't know. Like, is it bother you at all? Should we be on edge or upset?
It doesn't really bother me because I just think of it as a story.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if this would have been possible. Like if.
This would not have been published today like this. Like
no, not at all. But I don't know if that was the heart of those people back then. Like they had to be hard men to be able to live in that sort of climate.
Yeah, and I've been in Salt Lake and I've seen the stories of how they built the temple, like with the ground up. It's incredible.
I definitely think there were very morally debased people there, and probably some among the Mormons.
Wait, so I can practice polygamy? Is that what you're saying? I love this religion. I mean, Lord to die. I don't know what I want to die.
No, but I think that they. I don't know. This is a very interesting story of America from a British perspective.
I'm wondering if he ever visited this place. I'm fascinated to see if he actually traveled to Utah
and that kind of makes me think that he had more resentful views of America than we would think. Mm-hmm. He just thought it was a deserted, barren place, and that it was only filled with people that didn't carry out justice, were evil, were lawless. This is very much No Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
like
sure.
He thinks it's very, very wild landscape.
Yeah.
And it is. At this point, it is.
Well, it's describing a certain part of it.
I don't know about the people.
Yeah.
I think possible, but probably not what happened.
Okay. Yeah.
But I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're
I honestly kind of treated about that friend who makes the jokes that maybe go a little too far, but are kind of funny and true. You know what I mean? Okay, that's true, but I wouldn't have said it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But if someone.
And like I said, I have no idea. Like I said, many Mormons today are nice, and I don't think they represent this at all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's probably severely exaggerated what actually happened. But yeah, like let's be honest, like there's a mystery there. But yeah.
Like that. It is a very deep organization.
Yeah, and at the very least, if we're just taking it in the form of the story, it makes it like fun to have a story like it's a tense setting.
The escape from the pit, basically. Right. And. What was I gonna say? what would you think if someone wrote a story about us as Christians?
Yeah, I know,
with
and
this?
that's the thing.
Would we be able to
The
take
thing
it as
is,
lightly?
we don't have that history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It is do as you would be done
Like
by.
when people
you know.
tell us stories of the Crusades and try to pin
Yeah,
that
or
on
when they say
Christians.
Handmaid's Tale is like,
Mhm.
Christians, it's like, okay, well, maybe some Christians, but it's not all Christians.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you really have to say is, sure, that story could be true, but I don't think those were Christians in the story.
Exactly. Right. Right.
At least.
And that's what Mormons
we
would say about this,
portray them
maybe.
to be.
And
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
sure.
But I think there may have been people who claim to be Mormons.
I mean, we read the Scarlet Letter, and what is that if not a overly oppressive, society, Christian society doing things? So, two sympathetic characters. But, all right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Anything else to say about a study in the Scarlet? It's a fun story. It's a fun mystery.
I definitely think if you can, you should probably read it.
My sister Caroline listened to all of the Sherlock Holmes stories like on Audible with Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
Reading them and just fell
She
asleep.
said she listened to this one at least twice.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, because she kept falling asleep. So seriously, she would like nap and fall asleep during. This is during cross country season. They get up
It's
real
what she
early
wanted
and
to
run.
do. If she wanted to take a nap, she would put on Sherlock Holmes.
It's a routine. It's a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's do some donor shout-outs. If you want donor
Okay.
shout-out, you can find us over at patreon.com/bookinit. $2 or more get you patron-only posts. A lot of fun. $5 or more get you the shout-out, which we're about to do. $10 a month gets you a bonus episode, roughly a month, which Bryson and I are going to record after this, which is going to be a ton of fun. They're always a lot of fun. So a lot of good stuff over there. Head over there. So thank you to Nana,
Van Pappy and Wayla,
Mike and Sylvia,
Moses and Zara,
and Jenny and Uncle Sam,
Mr. Mike and Miss Laura,
Anna,
Emily,
Keaton,
howdy,
my mother,
Mrs. Hall,
William,
and Kara.
Thank you guys so much for your support. You
Thank
make
y'all.
these things possible.
Yes.
Hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was a fun conversation about Sherlock and the nature of vigilanteism and memory and Mormons and boy,
man, it's gonna be a
I don't
whole
know.
hassle of good things.
Oh boy. Well, we hope you guys had fun. We'll see you next time. But until then,
Keep on looking.